Shavua Tov. The tragedies that are happening with Hamas right now are raising massive questions and massive problems. Thank God some hostages have been returned, but obviously what happened with the Bibas children and the Shro Bibas and so on was horrific. There is a perspective from a spiritual angle where we can thank Hamas for the thing that they've done is brought together unity stronger than we've seen in decades potentially. The more horrific it gets, the stronger the Jews get in coming together, almost as a response, saying the more you're going to push us, the more we're going to strengthen from within, turn to God. So there have been more Jewish weddings, the birth rate in Israel has been growing and growing, more people have been keeping Shabbat, more women lighting Shabbat candles, more men putting tefillin on. But how can we still deal with the personal pain, and how can we still respond whilst the armies are trying to turn this thing over, retrieve the rest of the hostages? Two things we can look to right now. One is this week's Torah reading, and one is the upcoming festival. So in the Parsha of Terumah, it says at the beginning that when you should come and bring your offering, it begins by saying, Daber al b'nei Yisrael v'yikhu li teruma me'et ka'esh asher yidvenu liba tikhu et terumati. So someone should be yidvenu liba. They should see what is the thing from their heart that they can bring. What's motivating you? How can you use your skills for building the mikdash, building the sanctuary, but also right now within strengthening the community? What's coming from your heart? But then it comes on, it says the next part, V'zot ha-truma asher tikhu me'etam zahav v'chesef u'nechoshet. The part of this offering is to bring gold, and is to bring silver, and is to bring copper. The Ishbitzer Rebbe goes straight for the symbolism. What's the gold, what's the silver, and what's the copper? And recommends going straight to the Zohar. And the Zohar on this says it's three different kinds of people, three different kinds of Jews, which the Lubavitch Rebbe then unpacks. The gold kind is the person who's struggled with darkness and overcome it, who's gone through the individual journey, who's faced it, who's wrestled with God, who's dealt with bad personal behaviors, bad spiritual problems, and overcome it and refined themselves like pure gold. Silver, however, is like currency. We use silver as currency, he talks about. We don't use gold, or at least they didn't used to. And silver represents bringing down the divine light and spreading it out within the world, like the way that silver is getting exchanged. So it's already been purified like gold, but then it's being spread out. So that's the question of how we literally working within the world, how you're using your gifts and how you're elevating the gold as a result. Copper, not so much. Copper is cheaper. It's also used for currency. Doesn't reflect. It represents very much the base level. But nonetheless, we can't just have gold. We can't just have gold and silver. We have to have gold, silver, and copper. So regardless of the deeds, it's very much about unity. We need one another to strengthen. Then there is the bigger communal level as well, which we've got Adar coming up, the new month this coming weekend, Friday and Shabbat, and Purim, which is all obviously about hiding God's face and saying, well, we don't know what's happening at the time. We can't see what's happening. It's hidden from us. Sometimes it's get revealed, and sometimes it never gets revealed. You'd think that the enemies of the Jewish people would understand by now, just reading Jewish history, it's just not worth it. You can be bigger than us. The armies can be more numerous. You can be physically stronger. But like a David and Goliath, David was literally fighting Plishtim at various points, saying it's not going to work. With Purim coming up, it looks like it was a point of massive catastrophe. The notes have been sent out to the nations, the 127 plus provinces, and it was about to be complete destruction for the Jews. The gallows had been built 50 cubits high, but instead it all flipped over, obviously. Haman gets hung, everything actually turns out for the best in the end. But one thing maybe we can do is think of times, or think of a moment when things looked like they were not going the right way for you. And then with a bit of time, seeing how actually what seemed to be the wrong thing at the time turned out to be the right thing. For me personally, we just had the shlushim for my father last week. And I was planning to be back in Los Angeles for last Rosh Hashanah. In the end, I got ill. It didn't work out. I ended up staying here. As a result of staying here, I got the last 5 months with my dad before he passed away, something which is immensely valuable, which you couldn't pay for, having that time. Thank God. And where in your life can you find something which seemed awful at the time, but actually later the veil was lifted, the illusion was lifted. As I say, we don't always see this, particularly in the face of such tragedy. At the moment of tragedy, we certainly don't say to people, God forbid, oh, well, this is really for the best, because we don't know, and often we can't know. But what we can do is we can choose faith, we can say we can trust in God, we can bring unity together, we can refine ourselves like the gold, we can draw that light into the world like the silver, and we can keep spreading it like the copper without any judgment, so we can bring peace, pray for the return of the hostages, and have a great week ahead and a fabulous Purim.